Welcome to another episode of the Wholesale Elite Podcast. I'm Isham joined by my handsome co-host, my side dude, Mr. Tanner Santucci.
What's going on?
Oh man, living the dream, bro. And guys, today is going to be a fun one because we got a Florida boy in the house, Mr. Jon Maio. What's up, dude?
What's going on, boys? Pleasure to be here.
Yeah,
pleasure to have you.
And dude, you got like a nice mic. I don't know, for the people that can't see this, he's got like,
yeah. My girlfriend wants to be, a podcast star. So I bought it for her birthday this year. I'm the first one to use it though. So pretty excited. I get to flaunt that around.
Dude, fun fact, this mic that I had that everyone's like, oh my God, you got this super cool mic. I bought this thing almost 5 years ago because I wanted to start a podcast too. And I'm just now getting around to it.
Oh, that's funny.
So yours is getting some use. That's exciting. Well, Jon, man, we're excited to have you on. And what I like the most about these types of conversations is I don't know you too well. We've communicated via social. I think we've sent each other deals, and it's neat to actually finally get to know the human behind the social media icon and really get to dive in and kind of understand them, because obviously we don't just bring anyone on the show. We like to bring movers and shakers and people who have been in the world, people who have the right mindset, people who can bring value to the audience, to the listeners and viewers. So dude, we're excited to hear your story, man. And I'll start with, man, just asking you, just tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll dive into the origin story.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So, thank you guys first for having me here. Pleasure to be on. I'm excited to hopefully, impact some people and share some knowledge and hopefully, have a good impact on somebody out there.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so for about me, my name's Jon Maio. I live in Florida, like you said, but I'm actually from Long Island, New York. Born and raised in New York, went to school upstate New York.
Where's your New York accent at, bro?
I know. It's what everybody says. Yeah. My family has New York accents, but not me. I don't know why.
Interesting.
Yeah. So born and raised like New York through and through all the way. I never thought I'd leave New York. I was like #1 fan of New York. But got a job in Manhattan, was there for like 8 years probably or so. It was a while. And was just kind of in that world of working in W-2 in Manhattan. Like that was my world. I'd go to work 9 to 5, 9 to 7 probably was more accurate.
Yeah.
And just kind of kept doing that. I was with people, like, had friends around there. And, the scene that I was with was everybody just kind of liked to party. Like that was what we did. We partied, we ate, like we spent our money, we slept, and we went to work. And that was really it. And yeah, for probably 8 years, like I said, I was kind of in New York just doing that. Like that was my day to day. And then, as like my 20s kind of went on, I started to realize like, okay, like, hey, like, I knew deep inside that there was something else that I wanted. Like I knew I wanted more. I felt like I could be more. Like I always kind of said I wanted to open my own business, but I had no idea what kind of business.
Right.
I thought like a restaurant, but then I was like, do I really want the restaurant life? Like that's kind of tough and competitive. I don't know. And then I thought like a bar, because I was always going to the bar, and I was like, but then I was like, that's not really a healthy lifestyle. Don't know if I want that. And just kind of kept staying in my 9 to 5. Had a good job, like, average job, like above average pay, like solid, moving up, getting promotions. Like I had a team of like 20 people I was managing. Like,
what was your job, by the way?
I was like a technical program manager at a translation company in New York City. Super random, nothing I cared about or was passionate about, but been there for 10 years, still at that job. But so, yeah, just kind of was in that just trap of just the same thing over and over and over. Knowing I want more, but just not taking any action to get there.
Sure.
And just kind of stuck in that cycle. And then actually everything changed in, I guess, March of 2020. And that was when COVID happened. And I think a lot of people have this like same story. And, obviously COVID was like a terrible thing. Everybody lost like loved ones, and there was all the terrible things that happened. But for me specifically, and I think for a lot of people that I've heard, like it was kind of like a really unique opportunity. And it really like, it was the first time I didn't have to go to work every day, and like didn't have to commute, and didn't have to just be sitting at my desk like all day working. And I was able to talk to my girlfriend and think like, hey, where do we want to go? It was perfect for us. We were kind of homeless at the time. We had both just moved back home, and we were looking for an apartment in the city together. And then New York City like shut down, and we had no home. And we were like, okay, like we don't have to work for a little while, like in the office. Like let's go down to Florida and hang out on the beach.
Heck
And then we
yeah.
stayed for a week or two. We're like, all right, we're definitely gonna
No.
go back next week. And then all of a sudden it's 2 years later and we're still living in Florida. Florida now, never planning on going back to New York. And yeah, that's kind of
What part of Florida do you guys go to? I guess what part of Florida are you guys living in now?
Yeah, so we're in Sarasota. It's like a little bit below Tampa.
Yep. Very cool. Very cool.
Phenomenal. So I'm curious because, dude, like New York was a hotbed for bad stuff during COVID. I mean, at least that's what we heard in the news and whatnot. And so how did you guys have the perspective of this is a unique opportunity versus, oh my God, doom and gloom? Like, how did that happen?
Yeah, you kind of cut out for a little bit in the beginning there. But
I'm sorry, I'll re-ask the question. I think
perfect.
I'm having some internet lag. It's Alaska internet.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, you said you were in New York in the height of COVID, and that for all of us outsiders looking in, like that place looked like doomsday. All you kept hearing about was body bags and stretchers. What gave you guys the perspective, or what gave you the perspective that this is a unique opportunity and not, oh my gosh, like shut her down? How are we going to how did you look at that so optimistically?
Yeah, that's a great question. And, I don't have a great answer for that. Like, I feel like one of my just kind of characteristics is I've always been like an optimistic guy. Like, I've always looked at like the glass half full. Like, I've always kind of taken that route. And we just looked at each other, like my girlfriend and I, she's the same as I am. And we were like, hey, we don't have to go to work for a week. Like, let's go to the beach and hang out. And even if it's just the two of us, like we didn't know anybody in Sarasota, Florida. We just kind of came down here. And then we were like, all right, we still don't have to go back to work. Let's just keep hanging out on the beach. And I mean, we were fortunate, like, we were healthy. We didn't get COVID at the time. We were safe. We wore masks and stuff like that. But, we were just kind of taking advantage of what the world gave us.
Awesome. So you're now in Florida. You guys are, I guess, kind of maybe committing to staying here. How did real estate work into this whole endeavor?
Yes. So real estate was, again, thanks to my girlfriend, actually. So she's a big YouTube fan, huge fan of all the influencers on there. And one day we were hanging out in my house in like New York still before we came down to Florida. And she was watching some YouTube, and these influencers were like making stories about how they got these investment properties and telling these stories about how their tenants are paying their rent and that's covering the mortgage and they're making like $400 a month and traveling around and like passive income and all this stuff. And she turned to me and was like, hey, like, can we do this? And at first I thought, no, absolutely not. Like, that's crazy. Like, that can't exist. Because I didn't know about any of that. Like, I was never in that world before. Like, I'm not like a huge social media guy. I wasn't following those people. Like, I was super unaware of all that. And then she showed me, and I talked to one of the friends I had who I knew was kind of like in real estate. I had no idea what he did at the time, but I knew he had something to do with real estate. And he turned me on to Bigger Pockets. So that was kind of my first experience. So I started listening to Bigger Pockets while I was like going for a jog or something like that. And then I was like, whoa, like, this is kind of crazy. Like, this is actually real. Like, she wasn't lying. These influencers aren't crazy. And then just kind of went down the spiral after that. And I started just, listening to every single thing I could find, reading everything I could find, like just literally hours and hours and hours. Like I countless hours. I don't even know how many. And was just kind of in that spiral of just learning. And then probably 2 months later, we ended up buying a rental property in Dallas, Texas. Super random that it was Dallas because we were living in New York and moving to Florida. But for whatever reason, we thought Dallas was a great place to buy a rental. And we were going to do the Burr method there because I was watching Bigger Pockets, and that's big, big on there. Turned out to be way too big of a project for a first timer who knew nothing. Like, this was like a full gut. Like, the house was terrible. And we bought it from a wholesaler. Actually, I didn't even know what a wholesaler was at the time. That was actually kind of a bad experience because they probably weren't the best wholesaler, and they definitely, led us astray a little bit. But we were unaware. So all in all, it worked out in the end. We still have that property now. It's a rental. I think we're cash flowing like almost $500 a month. So we have a lot more money in it than we expected because of the Burr method. But all in all, still a good long-term rental. And that was kind of the first experience in real estate for me.
So you guys actually you stuck with that property, even though like you were in over your head, you got it to the finish line.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we did. Yeah. It was, it was tough. There was a lot of fights, a lot of anger, a lot of difficult days for sure. But, we made it through. And I mean, every time I tell that to somebody now, they're like, wow, you're cash flowing like $500 a month. Like that's a great rental.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah. For sure. Absolutely. So from you getting that deal from the wholesaler to you getting a tenant in there, how long was that?
I got the deal April 4th, and we got a tenant in there about December 20th. Whew. It was a long one.
Whew. Interesting.
Yeah. And the house was 700 square feet. Like it was a tiny little house. Yeah. So we did an addition. We converted the garage. Now it's 1,000 square feet at 3.2 instead of a 2.1 that it was originally. But yeah, it was tough. I thought it was gonna be a $15,000 renovation. It was like 95.
Oh
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was brutal for sure.
Wow. Well, good news is you're cash flowing now. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Now it's $500 in the pocket every month. Well, was that so? That was your first taste of what a wholesaler was like?
Yeah, exactly. So I kind of had that like negative opinion of a wholesaler because of that. Yeah. Like that guy told me like, oh, you negative paint. Oh, go ahead.
No, sorry. Did you get that negative connotation from bigger pockets? Or because if you already, how do you know of wholesalers?
I didn't. I was just on Bigger Pockets, and they have a category on the side that says like homes or something like that. And I just clicked on it, and then I saw like, oh, this one looks like a nice one. And then it turned out to be a wholesaler actually from like New Western. And of course, yeah, exactly. And then that guy
was like,
bang, 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 yeah, exactly. Yeah, I didn't want to put them on blast, but sorry, guys.
No, it's all good. It's all good. I actually worked when I was first getting started. I don't want to say I partnered up, but I worked with a wholesaler, Jake, I think his name was, who was phenomenal, man. I mean, he was actually very influential in my career. We don't do any more deals together, but I had a great experience. But let me ask, okay, so Bigger Pockets now is changing. And thankfully, we've got people like Jamil Damji who are bringing, shedding the good light on wholesaling and saying, hey, look, it's not all what it has been. There's actually people out here doing it the right way. It's a service that's been around longer than realtors have been around. So it's here to stay. So it's good that he's shedding positive light on that now, but back then there was no positive light. So how did you cross over from being essentially a burr investor who got this deal from a wholesaler, and it sounds like it didn't pan out right, to you eventually moving over to wholesaling? What was that journey like?
Yeah, it was a lot of twists and turns along the way. I mean, it wasn't a long period of time. So we finished that. We got that renter in there late December. And by March or April, I was full-time in wholesaling. But at first, I kept reading the books, doing the podcast, everything like that. And then I was like, okay, the next best thing for me to do in real estate is get my real estate license. So that's what I did. So I got licensed by the end of December. I think I was licensed. And then I kind of fell into that trap of just, I kind of forgot that I wanted to invest in real estate. And I just started being a realtor for a little while and, doing residential real estate, like showing people homes. And then after like a few weeks of that, I was like, you know what, this is terrible. Like, this isn't what I want to do. Like, I don't want to show people homes. I want to buy homes. I want to own homes. Like, I don't care about these pretty homes. I like ugly homes. So then I kind of realized, okay, like that's not what I want to do. And then I started kind of going towards like multifamily. And then I was like, all right, I probably don't have enough money to do multifamily right now. And then I was kind of in that circle that everyone does where you're just shooting your shot, like in every single thing. Yep. So I figured, okay, like, quick money, like everybody says wholesaling is like a great way to get quick money. Like, let me try that. And I also figured that, wholesaling is kind of, the beginning of the chain. So if I can get good at the beginning of the chain, then I can do anything I want.
Absolutely.
So that was really what kind of like made me think like, okay, you know what, like forget that other guy. Like I'm gonna be a good wholesaler. I'm gonna show my people like how it should be done and like help them out. We'll all be homies and then go from there.
I see.
But it was not successful.
Well, at the time, who were some of your mentors or people that you were kind of, getting information from and following?
Yeah. So, I wish I had went on like YouTube and just started watching like Jamil's videos, but I didn't even know who he was yet at the time still. Sure. So I was just kind of listening to podcasts really about how people would get their leads. And then that was it. So it wasn't even like the concept of like wholesaling so much. Like I didn't know about the contracts or anything like that. Still, I just knew like, okay, like this guy said he has a whole business on direct mail. Like, let me go write some letters and I'll get a bunch of leads. So I tried that, didn't get any leads. And then I was like, all right, this guy's out here cold calling everybody. Like, let me try that. Didn't get any leads. Or actually, I got some leads, but I didn't know what to do with them.
Sure.
Then I hired VAs, had some VAs for a little while, didn't know how to train them, didn't know didn't know what they were doing. I didn't know what I was doing. It was a waste of money and time. And I was just kind of doing that, shooting my shot everywhere and just not having success with anything because I didn't stick with anything. PPC I did for like a week. And I was like, oh God, like how did I not get a single lead in like 1 week of PPC? Like this is crazy. But
it's funny because it sounds like classic entrepreneur, stuff where you're just trying things. You're not afraid to take action. Like me included. I'm not fearful of taking action, but in the past, I had the habit of overthinking, my next move. And so it sounds like you're just like, dude, these guys are doing it. Let's give it a shot. Let's go for it. Yeah. So through all this kind of inconsistency, what made you stick with something? Because I'm assuming at this point you now have found consistency. How did that happen? Like what made you, just pick one lane and go for it? And how did that work for you? Is that how you got your first deal or?
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, the thing that changed for me was getting a mentor, joining Astro, and just kind of learning from somebody who had done it before. That was really the game changer for me. I did all the coursework, I did all the modules, everything that they teach you in the Astro course. And then just kind of like being around that community, I think is really what did it. Like I saw all these other people that were just doing like one thing and they were successful. And I went from thinking like, okay, like you could do one deal a month to thinking like, wow, you could do 4, 10, 20 deals a month or whatever. Like this is possible. And all you need to do is just stick with one specific thing. And at the time, like this was maybe 2 months, 3 months since I'd gotten like into real estate more, like with like being a realtor and all the cold calling and PPC and stuff. So I'd probably spent like almost $5,000 on like marketing and stuff already. So I was like, all right, like I really need to just relax on the paid marketing. And that's when I came across Astro. And they were like, oh, like, we can teach you ways where you don't have to spend all your money on marketing. And that's really, still didn't even know who Jamil was when I joined Astro. I had no idea. I had never heard him speak. I had no idea who he was. And I just liked that marketing thing that they said where you don't have to pay for marketing because I was been paying for marketing so much. And that was really the game changer for me. Because then after that, I just focused.
How did you, where did your first deal come from? How'd you lock it up? Let's kind of walk through that deal flow.
Yeah, so my first deal was actually kind of a stressful one. I'm sure they all are, but it was a lead that came in from before. I think it was actually from the cold calling that I was doing. And I was going to flip that house myself because I was also trying to do some flips in there too, again, because I was doing literally everything. And sometimes I think I have the opposite problem sometimes where I take action a little bit too quick. So I had received like a message from somebody where they were like, hey, like I'm a private lender, like I can help you fund your deals. I'll give you 100% of the purchase price and 100% of the rehab and only like 4% interest. And I was like, well, that's a steal. Like perfect. So I got that guy to fund this deal. And it turns out that was a scam. So I had sent them like $5,000 or something like that. And then they couldn't fund the deal. So at this point I was already like past my inspection period. I was like, oh geez, like I don't know what to do. Like I lost the money to this guy. I was about to lose my earnest money to the seller. And that's when I had joined Astro and I was doing the coursework and learning like, okay, this is what wholesaling actually is. And that was just kind of like a light that went off that I was like, oh, I can wholesale this deal. Like this is the way I'm going to get out of here. And that's how I'm going to get my money back. And sure enough, I spent a lot of time making calls. I still didn't have too many buyers or anything at the time. I was like texting, calling, like doing everything I could to find a buyer. And then found this one buyer who's still one of my better buyers right now. Like she's an awesome like agent who has all these other buyers. And she ended up taking that deal for herself and her sister. And I got the money back that I got scammed from plus like $2,500. And that was my first win. And I was like, oh, this is great. So I did positive netted $25 and I was thrilled.
And you're part of a community that was super supportive and able to kind of guide you properly, moving forward. Wow. I applaud that. I can't, first of all, I think it's hilarious that you said you're a person who likes to take action first. That's Tanner, 100%.
That's all me.
Tanner's my partner, man. It's funny because we balance each other out. I'm Tanner's the ready, fire, aim guy, you know. And I'm like the ready, aim a little bit more, check your sights, you know, make sure the gun, inspect your gun. But it's great because, you know, both ways work in reality. And so for any of the listeners and viewers, I always want people to be kind of conscious of that. It's more important to be self-aware of who you are than trying to be someone else that you think you should be in order to have success. There's so many variations to get to the finish line. So nonetheless, you've got a fascinating story, my friend, because I feel like at this point, so many people would have dropped out of the game. I mean, you got bamboozled twice, you know, it seems like, and, you know, just challenge after challenge. And it's not like when you found real estate, you were like, this is the thing I'm going to do for the rest of my life. You know, you and your girlfriend saw it as an opportunity. What do you think? Why did you hang in there?
Yeah, that's a really good question, to be honest. You know, I just hung in there because I knew that I could do it. Like, that was really it. Like, I was listening to all these people, like seeing all these people. And like, I've always thought like I'm a pretty smart guy. Like, you know, like I've always done well in school and everything, and, you know, been like able to do things. And I was like, there's no way that I can't succeed in real estate. Like, it's just impossible. Like, I just need to keep trying. And listening to the podcasts and the books and everything really did help, because everybody was like, you know, every no is one step closer to a yes. And I was like, all right, I literally can't fail anymore. Like, I've gotten bamboozled twice, like you just said. Like, I can't possibly get bamboozled again. Like, I've seen it all now. I probably still haven't seen it all, but
sure.
At least I felt like that at the time. So every day, like, I would just kind of wake up again and be like, all right, like, today is the day. Like, today I'm going to do it. It's going to work today. And that was just kind of where I was at. I mean, definitely, like, I'm not going to lie. Sometimes at nighttime, like, I'd be pretty bummed. Like, my girlfriend would be mad at me. Like, Jon, you just lost $2,500 more. Like, how is that possible? And yeah, I mean, it was definitely tough some nights for sure. But then I would just try to get some sleep, wake up in the morning and have amnesia and go at it again.
Absolutely. Well, let's give the people some hope, because I hate to make it sound like, gosh, anyone who's going through this, you know, you're going to go through pure hell on your way to the beginning. It is, you know, obviously everyone's story is differently, but you know, you've been doing this for a little while now. What's been your biggest month financially so far?
My biggest month was probably, I think, $31K. And that was 2 months ago. Yeah, 31.
Very nice.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal.
Very nice.
Gosh, that's what some people hope to make in a year.
I know. Yeah.
Dude. So now, man, now knowing you a little bit and kind of knowing your mindset, I want to ask you kind of, not a personal question, but maybe random. Hustle. People that have the hustle, people like you, people that have that drive and that ambition. Do you think that's nurture, or do you think that's nature? Do you think it's something that they're born with, or just through life's situations have created this person?
Yeah, man, that's a good question. I don't think that it's something that you're born with. I don't know where it comes from exactly, but like, just thinking about like my family, like I've got a brother and a sister. I'm the youngest one. My sister's a hustler, but like my brother, he's definitely not a hustler. That guy is like slow and relaxed. Like he's not a hustler. My mother is very much like cautious. Like, when I told her, like, I'm buying a piece of real estate for like $400,000, but don't worry, like, I'm going to sell a piece of paper for 10 grand in a couple days. Like, that blew her mind. Like, she was terrified. So that is not like her lane at all. So it's really like nobody in my family I can think of that's really kind of in that lane. So I don't think it's anything that you're born with or nurtured. I think it's just circumstance throughout your life that makes you kind of want to be that way.
100%. 100%. It's a kind of a debate I've had with myself for the longest time, because I grew up thinking that a lot of, you know, those attributes are inborn. You know, they're innate. They're things that people are just born with. You see these leaders, you see these company people, you know, you see the president, all these people, and you're like, man, they, you know, and then you hear the story of how they were raised and whatnot, and you're like, man, I don't have that upbringing. You know, maybe I didn't have this, like me, I didn't have this struggle environment, really. I mean, my parents didn't have a ton of money, and so it was cool to look at other, you know, ambitious people, to see the fruits of their labor and think, man, you know, that'd be great. But I didn't have people beating my ass when you know, I had no harsh parents or anything like that. But I also wasn't raised in a wealthy environment, so I didn't have this North Star to kind of go to. So I thought I was screwed, man, for the longest time. I literally did. I literally thought I was just meant to kind of have a job and go that route. And it wasn't until I started associating with people like you and people like Tanner and people that have these big visions and aren't afraid to go after it. And I just surrounded myself with them. It was so infectious that I became that person, And so I agree with you, man. I think that kind of stuff is totally, brought about by your environment that you're raised in.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Like I was saying before that, all my 20s, I was just in that 9 to 5 world of just working. All my friends worked 9 to 5s. Nobody had I didn't even know what an entrepreneur was. Like that word wasn't in my vocabulary. Like financial freedom, I just heard when after COVID for the first time ever. And it never crossed my mind, any of that stuff. And I was just complacent in that same just average life. And now I surround myself with entrepreneurs and real estate people, and all I listen to is that, and that's all you can think, and then you just become that type of person.
Absolutely. One of my favorite, and Tanner, I'm sorry, I'm hogging this interview.
I'm just enjoying listening, so we're good.
One of my favorite questions to ask people, especially people that have just a fascinating kind of story, is what's your morning routine like? And if you don't have one, that's even fine. But I'm just curious to know, what's your morning routine like, Jon?
Yeah, so that's a good question too. My morning routine is something that I'm working on for sure. I used to be a late riser, but I've been gradually, what I started doing maybe a year ago was just kind of taking 15 minutes earlier, every day. And not to any crazy amount. I probably wake up at 6:15, 6:30 every day, maybe 7, somewhere in that kind of range. I've been working on the mindset stuff also. So every morning I meditate for 10, 15 minutes, nothing crazy. Still not really good at it. So if anybody's out there struggling with meditation, I've been doing it every day for 4 months and still not great. So you gotta hang in there for sure. But yeah, so I wake up, meditate, drink a bunch of water right away. I'm super, super strict about that. I always make sure I drink a gallon of water.
Smart.
And then I've been trying to not touch phone or anything like that for the first kind of 30 minutes, just kind of settle into your day a little bit. And then after that, I start working. That's it. And then I kind of, yeah.
I like that because it's basic. It's simple. You don't hear everyone, you talk to most people, and whether they actually do it or not, there's, they make it sound like they've got some extravagant morning routine where they climb Mount Everest, come back down, jump out of a plane with a parachute, and that's 6 a.m. still, and they're like, all right, now I go hit the gym. And no, but it's extremely basic. I keep my morning routine is extremely basic, just like that. I think that's cool for people to hear that, it doesn't need to be some extreme where you're reading 30 minutes and all this stuff. So that's super relatable to, I'm sure, a lot of people, and they just whether won't admit it or whether they haven't realized it yet. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, no problem at all. Yeah, I sometimes I think the same thing. I'm like, damn, should I be doing more in my morning? But I like to kind of get to work, and then I'm like, oh, it's 8 o'clock and I've already done an hour of work. That's awesome. So, you feel good, and then I go to the gym in the afternoon, and kind of you get a break. You've already worked for 8 hours at that point, and then you can go work out, take your mind off, take a break. I don't really need a break when I first wake up.
I love it. Alex Hormozy, he's just a random person I follow, but Alex is dope. I mean, he's a boss, and
I love that guy. Yeah.
Someone had asked him what's his morning routine, and he's like, I wake up, I drink a cup of coffee, and I get the fucking work.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, he's like, don't overthink it. He's like,
yeah. I totally vibe with that guy. Him and Layla, both of them, I'm on that same level.
That guy's awesome. Well, let me ask you another fun question that I'm always curious to know is what's one of your favorite books that you refer to other people, and why?
Yeah, so I mean, I guess my first question would be what do they want to do? What kind of book do you want to read? I'm assuming you're in real estate and you probably want to grow your business at that point. Sure. So for me, the best book that I've read in the last 2 years for sure, or ever, it's not even a complicated book or anything, is Who Not How. I love that book. I think it's so good. It's so packed full of nuggets and gems, and it's so simple. So many people think that they have to do every single thing in the world, and you can only do so much. And that the whole point of that book is just that you need to find the people that can do the things that you need them to do. And you're just kind of an orchestrator, moving all the chess pieces around or whatever you want to call it. And I love that message. I think that's really the way to build your business for sure. It's the only way to succeed. And yeah, I love that book.
That's interesting. That's a book I haven't read, but I've heard it over and over and over again. And it's almost like, okay, Isham, time to read that book. Dude. Okay. Well, thank you for that. What's been what's the greatest lesson that you've learned so far in your real estate career regarding real estate?
Yeah, the greatest lesson, I mean, I think everyone has the same problem when they start, that like real estate is so big. It's like such a broad term, and there's so many ways to like make money, and they all work. Like that's the crazy thing. So you just need to like look at all of them, or look at some of them, see what interests you, like what kind of category you want to be in, like who you are as a person, and then just choose that one thing and just focus for a while. Like everything takes time. Like you got to wait, you got to put the work in. It's not like a get rich quick scheme right away. And I think it's super easy just to get distracted and just try the next thing, and forget that like you need to actually like focus on one thing for a while. So that would be my advice, and biggest thing that I've learned for sure, just that if you put the focus in on any of the techniques in real estate, like I think they all work. It's just you got to choose one.
Yeah, for sure. I can totally agree to that. And you know, you've said enough. I don't even think I want to harp on that anymore. Let me ask you this. Okay, so let's talk about goals. I'm fascinated to find out what people's process is around goals. I was just on a call with Jamil Damji the other day, and he mentioned I think it was him. Gosh, I don't remember. Maybe it wasn't. But anyways, this person had mentioned not setting a timeline to your goals.
It was Jamil, by the way.
It was Jamil. Okay, that's right. And I thought that was fascinating because I you always hear make your goals START. I think it is specific or SMART, specific,
yeah, measurable, actionable,
yeah. And one of them that I think the last T is timely or timeline.
Yeah.
But that for me has kind of been a thing where I'm like, man, I like all the other stuff, but the timeline's the one part I never liked, because it just gave you this pressure, which sometimes obviously pressure is good. Pressure creates diamonds, but pressure also busts pipes, and that pressure, depending on your personality type, could almost detract you from your goal, could shy away if you're coming close to that time mark and you're not meeting it, whatever. So I want to, I said a lot just to say, what are your thoughts on goals? Are you a person who likes to share your goals, or do you keep them in with you? Do you like to set specific goals? What's your thought process around that?
Yeah, I've never heard that before, what you just said about not having the timeline, but I like that. And I think that that's interesting, because you're right. Like when you have a timeline on there, it's really hard to hit a timeline, especially when you're new, when you don't know like all these things and you're still learning. Like I've missed every timeline I've ever put on my goal. And then it happens and you get depressed. And then like if you're not succeeding in other ways, then like you start to get more depressed, and it's like a spiral of like you're stuck in this, like I missed another goal. So for me, I'm probably not the best goal setter, but like my goals are super simple. Like I've got like a revenue goal, and then I've got like 4 goals underneath it of like what the things that I feel like I can kind of control more are, like calls in a day, like texts in a day, offers in a day, like stuff like that. That's super basic. And that's really kind of it. That's all I do. And then I just set like a mental goal of like, let me focus on this for like a month, and then reconnect with my goals, see where I'm at, like adjust as needed, and then move from there, or maybe even every week or something.
Your revenue goals, are those monthly or annually or both or quarterly? Monthly.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. And did you start setting goals pretty earlier on into your career, or did you realize the importance afterwards? Or
no, I always set goals, because I was in that W-2 world for like 10 years, and I was a manager for a long time. So we always had to set goals, like projections, like all that stuff. So that was like the one thing that I kind of felt confident about. So when I wouldn't know how to do anything else in real estate, I'd be like, okay, like I could set some goals, like, I could do projections, like these kinds of things, and spend my time doing that to make it feel like I was actually getting work done. But
yeah, absolutely.
We're all guilty of that.
Yeah, exactly.
Of some regard and something in the business, whether it's your logo or goals. Or
Oh yeah, the
whatever
logo
it is.
for sure.
The logo, the dreaded logo.
I know. I'm still thinking about the name too. I'm always thinking about a new name.
That's right. Yeah, we were talking about that.
Yeah, exactly.
What would you say Jon, what would you say your superpower is?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that my superpower is kind of what I was saying before, where like I'm really good at just waking up the next morning and just kind of forgetting about the day before and starting over again and having hope. Like it's kind of a weird superpower, but I just feel like I guess resilient is the word I'm kind of looking for.
I love that. Like, yeah, like productive amnesia.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like they say that in sports, like you got to have amnesia. Like you can't remember you just like threw an interception. Like you got to get out there and throw perfectly. And I definitely think that that's been one of the reasons I've been able to succeed. Like that's why I was able to get scammed twice, like we talked about before, and kind of keep going because I'm able just to kind of forget it all and just clear my mind and just do what I got to do and focus on the work.
When you do forget, this may be a silly question, but I'm curious, do you forgive as well, or do you still kind of hold a grudge and just move on?
I used to definitely hold the grudge more for sure. And that's definitely been something that I've been like working on. And, in the meditation, like I think about that for sure. And just try to forgive myself. Like, like in my mind, like I'm superhuman and I can make like $1 million in like 1 month right away. And then I get scammed and I'm like, okay, like Jon, you didn't actually know what you were doing. Like you gotta take the punch in the beginning, forgive yourself. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What was one of the, sorry, I'm just like firing all these questions off. And I'm just curious to know. What's one of the last things you did in real estate that scared you? Something out of your comfort zone?
Yeah. So definitely in the beginning, like, making offers, like stuff like everybody said, writing my first contract that said like I owed like $400,000, like that was scary, but now I'm over all that. So the most recent thing for sure is I'm kind of at the point where like I need to build my team, and that's kind of where I'm at right now. And, I definitely still have some kind of like mental barriers of like, am I good enough in real estate? Like, am I good enough of a wholesaler? Like, am I ready to take people on under my team? Even though it's weird because I used to manage like 30 people, but I never did it in real estate before as like the owner of the business before. So I'm definitely still like tentative at the moment still. So that's definitely one that I'm working on right now.
I can appreciate that.
Are you tentative because you feel like and don't take this the wrong way, but are you tentative because you don't feel like you're as successful as maybe you want to be, or that you feel like you still don't know everything in order to be the best boss or manager per se? Like what's holding you back, or what makes you feel tentative about bringing on people to your team?
Yeah, it's 100% the first one that like, I know that I know how to wholesale. Like it's not that complicated. Like it's, a relatively straightforward series of events, but yeah, it's definitely just the beginning that for whatever reason in my mind, I'm still not sure if like I'm good enough personally. And, I don't want to take somebody under my wing and not be able to give them like the mentor that they should and like deserve to have. So that's definitely my mental barrier at the moment that I'm working through for sure.
So let me ask this then. What's your whenever you are ready to take that jump, what is your first hire? What's the first person you want to bring on your team?
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be acquisitions for sure. I went back and forth in the beginning for sure. I liked AC in the beginning because I love to have control of the deals. I love to have my own deals. But the thing that's kind of like brought me more towards the dispo side, and that's like kind of what I do a little bit more now, is I love the relationships with my buyers. Like I feel like you don't get quite the same thing, even with you're working with like real estate agents. Like buyers, they're like your homies. Agreed. Like you're all making money together. It's fun. I mean, you do that with agents too, but I don't know. For some reason, it just like hits different. I feel like on the buyer side.
But before Isham has to say anything, he knows, he's heard a lot of my conversations.
That's what I was going to say. Like, I love it.
Like I talk to him, like we go up and like, I would like handshake, like smack him on the ass, tell him good game.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you know what I mean? Like it's just it's a casual, easy conversation. Like I can call my buyers and be like, what's up, motherfucker? Like, it's just easy. And so there's not that pressure. So I agree with you.
Totally agree. Yeah. And I guess AC is, a little bit more of like, you got to kind of crank the numbers out. Like it's a numbers game. Like you got to get out there and make those calls and everything. So
So bringing on a new teammate, yeah, I feel that trepidation, that slight imposter syndrome, because we're at the same crossroads right now in our business, where we're not looking to scale necessarily, but we've got so much stuff coming our way that we almost need the help.
Yeah.
And then so it's bringing on the right person. It's making sure our systems are set up properly. It's making sure that they've got confidence in us that we're going to be able to support them in their endeavors, and make sure that our vision is big enough that theirs fits into it. And there's a lot that goes into,
it really is.
Your first team member on. So I look forward, man, to having you on another episode.
For
months
sure.
from now, and hearing about what's going on. So
yeah.
Dude, let's land this plane. I got a few more questions for you. You've been phenomenal, John. This has been one of my favorite podcasts so far. For real. What's your definition of success, brother?
Oh man, that's a good question. My definition of success, it's got to just be like being, I want to say being happy, being able to do what you want to do. Like, absolutely. For me, like, obviously I want to make a ton of money, like, sure, but I want to make the money really just to be able to have the life that I want to lead, excuse me.
Both.
Either one. Yeah. So when I can just kind of, like, for example, next month I'm going to Asia for 2 months. So
very cool.
I'm planning on working from Asia remote, like, 4 to 5 hours per day. And I feel like when I'm there, I'm going to be like, okay, like I'm getting closer to success. Like, this is a little bit it. Cause I've got that life that like I want to be living. It's just gonna be my girlfriend and I traveling around Asia, making money in the mornings and night times. So for me, that's kind of what it is. Like that freedom, that happiness, that just like, contentment, everything.
Absolutely. And, I think Earl Nightingale, I think it was, he said, success, the definition of success is a progressive realization of a worthy ideal or worthy idea. And I thought that was cool. I mean, for me, my definition is, of course, like you said, the finances, but the finances will support the lifestyle. The ultimate goal of success for me is to do whatever I want, whenever I want, with whoever I want.
Yeah.
That's my, dream. That's my goal. So thank you for sharing that, man. John, dude, phenomenal. You've been an incredible guest. Thank you so much. I had a great time. I'm sure Tanner did too. I don't want to speak for him, but I had a great time getting to know you.
I did too.
Absolutely. Tanner's like, screw that guy. But we had
Italian. I can't say that. Come on now.
Yeah, true. We're homies.
Right. I saw John talking with his hands earlier.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Tanner's gonna come out.
Yeah,
dude. Yeah, man. Tell the good people of the world, bro, how can they work with you? And then also, where can they find you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much everywhere. Social media, Facebook, just search my name on there. Instagram at The Real Jon Maio, JONMAIO. It's not quite like the food. TikTok, same thing on there. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So just hit me up on anywhere on there. I'm super responsive.
Heck yeah. What markets are you working?
I'm in Florida. So Tampa primarily, Sarasota, Orlando, Bradenton, all in that area.
Awesome. Guys, we are Florida as well, but I'll tell you this, John is a beast. Like, John's a beast. John's one of the people that I was paying attention to when we were building our Dispo hub. So you guys got deals, man. Send them both our ways. Like, John definitely will get it done. So, dude, thank you.
Cool.
Thank you so much. I do want to ask you one last question, and It's kind of it's another one of those, wow. But what's your message to the world?
Oh man, my message to the world. These are some good questions. I guess my message for the world is you gotta do what you want to do. Like, for 10 years, I was living in the city and just getting gradually more unhappy with like the life that I had, but I was too afraid to take a step in any other direction. Like, I'd take a leap into anything, and just was kind of cycling down that path. And I felt myself going like more towards like a version of myself that I didn't want to be. Like, I was more unhappy, like laughed less, like things like that. And, it's a bad way to live. And, fortunately for me, like COVID was kind of the thing that really opened my eyes to that. So my message would just be that, like, open your eyes to the world and, live the life that you want to live.
Incredible words, brother.
Actually, and on that vein, I got to thank you guys too, because today was actually my last day at my W-2 job.
What?
So
hey, let's go.
As of 60 minutes ago, I'm full-time entrepreneur in real estate.
Bro, why don't you start off with that?
Yeah, you should have started off with that. Wow.
Yeah, I totally forgot.
A ton of questions now. We're gonna keep this thing going, bro. Well, we gotta let you get to work then, man. You got
I know. Yeah,
girlfriend and your own family you got to support. So
yeah.
Jon, thank you again, man. I'm so looking forward to us, developing a deeper relationship. Tanner, I'm so sorry. I pretty much just dominated this interview.
I'm chilling, bro.
You got any questions? Anything you want to throw Jon's way?
No, Jon's the man. And again, congrats on the full-time entrepreneur.
Boys. Yeah, I'm excited.
Absolutely. Well, bro, again, I can't wait to have you back on. I can't wait to hear more of your story. And we'll definitely have you as a repeat guest here on the Wholesale Elite podcast. Cool. Other than that, guys, we are out. We look forward to seeing you on the next show. We'll see you next time. Peace. What up, guys? Thank you for watching or listening to another episode. And look, here's the deal. If you got value out of today's episode, we kindly ask you subscribe and like and get this bad boy going. And look, if you're in Florida, we're in Florida. That's our marketplace, and we want to help your deals get to the finish line. So if you got any deals that need help with dispo, send us an email. We're at deals@unwindinvestments.com. You can also submit it via our property submission form online at unwindinvestments.com/deals. And guys, we want you to be the next guest on our show. So get out there and hustle and grind, and let's get to work. We'll see you in the next episode. Peace.